Olam Tanugim. Tanugim. Olam Tanugim. So the shaila is Olam Tanugim is for loss of love. Today you have to work, you have to labor. And Lamacha will reach the level of Medrash of Tanugim. There's a Maisa that's told over in two versions. Each one is right or wrong. One is told over in Chabad, and one is told over in Karlin. So Karlin, if you know a little the history of Chassidus, so Chabad and Karlin are one of the earliest branches of Chassidus. So much so that Baron Karlin was already nifter, Baron Agadol was nifter b'chai of Chayusa of the Magid. Shaktas, you were already before the Magid was nifter. And Chassidim used to be called the Karliners. Before they be called Chassidim, they used to call them Karliner. All Chassidim were called Karliner. A Kitzer, Reb Shloimke Karliner, was coming to visit the Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya. And Reb Shloimke Karliner was the bigger Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe had a lot of daughters. So they made a mesiba for Reb Shloimke Karliner was coming to eat and going to have a suda by the Alter Rebbe. So the daughters wanted to be mishtatif a little bit in the cooking. The tzaddik is coming. So each daughter walked into the kitchen and added a little salt to the soup. Knew he had a lot of daughters, so it was a lot of soup and a lot of salt. A lot of salt. That was a lot of soup. A lot of salt in the soup. A kitzah is, each version says that they served the soup to the Alter Rebbe and to Reb Shloimke Karliner. And each version says that their Rebbe ate it and the other Rebbe didn't eat it. That's the versions. But I think that it's mamish the opposite. Everyone thinks that the godless of the story is the tzaddik that ate the soup with the salt. Had ishtabos, like the beginning of Tzivas HaRivosh, the first Torah, Shvisa Hashem Neged Shavim, Shava, as it make things Shava, ishtabos. So, Mela, you would think that what's together of the tzaddik? The tzaddik is the person that doesn't taste the salt and eats the salt. So the reason why there's machlekes or there's different gesois is because the story is actually the opposite. The bigger, I don't say bigger, I'm not mashal tzaddikim because we don't know which one it is, so it doesn't matter. The bigger madrega is not the person that didn't eat the salt, that did eat it with the salt. The bigger madrega is not to eat it. That's the bigger madrega. Now we have to understand why. But this is the bigger madrega. A higher level is, so the beginning of the Torah, we talk about why. I don't know why. The Lashon of the Kotzker didn't say it, but the Kotzker would say that there's a Rashi, it says about the Shilas, the Shilas Tam, but in Yerushalmi it's not a Shilas Tam, it's not a question of a Tam. The Yerushalmi calls him a Tipish. So Rashi writes that the Tam has a Shilah of Ma, so he says, Tinik zeh Tipish uveini doi lahabe shalose v'shoyo Ma. So there's a what? Slow? What? We don't know yet. We have to figure out what. Slowly, one step at a time. But what is a good thing? What is it? To ask a question is also a good thing. That means they're alive. So what's the reason? So when it talks about the payers, it talks about the creation of fruits, vegetation. The Torah says that the Eibusha told the eights that it should be eights a superior. Eights a superior means that the eights and the period should taste the same. There shouldn't be a separation. You should have the tree and the fruit should taste the same. But the pears, the Ilonis, rebelled, So the says the Medrash Rabbah. Rashi brings it down. And they rebelled, and instead of the eights tasting like the period, only the fruit tasted like the fruit. But the tree became unedible. This is connected, and after the chet, is therefore in the skalkel, also the trees are in the skalkel because this. So Bemis, there he writes that it's part of the same, part of the Kitter Galavona, part of this rebellion and so that's all connected. So what's pshat? What's the difference between the eights and the period? What's the difference between a tree and a fruit? Everything in this world has an eights and has a period. Meaning it has an ikr, and then it has something that comes from it. Let's say, for example, a person has a child. So a person's child is his payers, right? The payers of a person is children. The payers of seichel, of intelligence, is midas. So the fruit is what is born out of that ikr, is an idea. And from that ikr, there's the payers. The payers is the fruit of that thing. So the payers is the tachlis of something. If you have, let's say you want to inspire yourself, so you think machshavas, mizboinen and avos Hashem. The tachlis of the mizboinen is vahafta. So vahafta is the peri, and the peri comes from the eitz. In the chet etzadas, because of the chet etzadas, the way we live this world is that there's a separation between the eitz and the period. Right? I'm sure there's a separation. That if I want to go someplace, which is the period, that's the fruit of what I want to achieve, I have to walk there. So the walking there is not the tachlis, that's not the period. I need to walk there. I need to get there. The only way to get there is to walk there. So the walk there is a hechatimsa that allows me to get there, but I really want to get there. So what's the period? The period is to get there. And the eitz is the original idea to get there, but it takes process in order to get to the period. This is the way it is. This is the way it is in our world. All this is mitzad. This all comes from the chet etzadas. Why? Because in the Eitz HaChaim, the tree of life, is ein koyach hasapoel. Every single thing is an end in itself. There's no, since it's one, you can't divide. You can't etzem built to mischalek. You can't divide an etzem, an atzmi. You can't divide. Since it's the atzmius, so every single nekuda is the atzmius, is the essence. So there's no chiluk between. There's no separation between the eitz and the period. This is mitzad in the world of Eitz HaChaim. And the world of Eitz Hadas, it's opposite. There's a separation between these two. So when we think about the creation of the world, so there's a Nesav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the highest level of the purpose of creation, higher than Midas, which is this Gal Shleimus Kochaisov, which the Ari speaks about, the Ramchal speaks about, or Teva Tov Lahetiv, which the Ramchal says, or Begin the Shtamoidnoi, what the Zohar says. These are all in the Midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol. That this Midah has to be revealed, the Shleimus Kochaisov, not on Koicha Bilta Bagul, also in Gvul, or Teva Tov Lahetiv, that Hashem wants to give good, it's a Midah. The Midas is all an expression of a taiva, of Ratzon. Ratzon is higher than the Midas, right? You have Chabad, you have Chagas, which is the Midas. Then you have Chabad, which is the Seichel, the intelligence. But beyond the intelligence is Tainug, is El Makeser. So what's the desire of creation Tzad El Makeser, from the world of Keser, is Nisava. Nisava is a desire. What's desire? Desire is Tainug. When you want to, doesn't make buchal. When you have a type for something, for example, you say we'll talk about creating chairs, and some people are chair people. So a person has a desire to make a chair. So you have a taiva to make a chair. I don't know, probably no one besides this man has a taiva to make a chair, but this is your taivas. You have a desire to make a chair. So you decide to make the chair, you have this taiva, then you have to go ahead and build the chair. And when the process of building the chair, the taiva is not nisgala. There's no revealing of the taiva. Because it's labor intensive. You have to get a hammer and you have to get nails, and especially if you don't know what you're doing, this can also be very not taivadik, not desirable. But then where's the taiva nisgala? Where's the desire nisgala? When you finish. Right? When you finish the thing, so the original taiva starts off, I want to create the chair. The process of creating the chair, there's no revealing of the taiva. Where's the taiva nisgala? When the chair is already finished. So if the Eibusha created the world, the Sava Kodesh Baruch Hu. Pshat is that the taiva is the origin of creation. Yeah? It's the origin. It's the aschala. Then there's a process of creation where there's no galus taiva. The taiva is not revealed. Why? Because we haven't yet reached its tachlis. So when is the galus of the taiva? When is the fullness of the taiva is revealed? B'shleimus, Imos Mashiach. The times of redemption, the times of the tachlis. When the tachlis is, you say, that's when his gala, it will be revealed, the original taiva. No tzchilas and sefer. The taiva is oil matanugim, kaviyachol. The Rabbi Shab once said, how come the Eibusha had a taiva to create the world? He said, if a taiva frek mishkan kashas. You understand? What he's saying is, he's saying that in oilam atainug, you can't ask someone why he likes ice cream. What's exactly? It's the texture. It's this. I have a timer. This is what I desire. It's transcendent of seichel, and you can't even argue with someone. If someone's a baltaiva, and he has this real baltaiva, you can't. By the way, this is going to be. Okay, I know it's going to be bad for me, but I can't help myself. This is the problem with taiva. Taiva is something that is very, very deep. That's beyond seichel and beyond midas. So why not Kodesh Baruch Hu have a taiva? Because it's a gishmak. Why is it gishmak? Affects a shayla of taiva. You understand? But why did Eibusha create the world? Because Eibusha had a relish, a taiva to create the world. Why? Because imagine if you were the Ein Sof. You are shtickle Ein Sof. So imagine if you're the Ein Sof and you imagine that there's going to be in Tavshin Pei Vav, there's going to be a couple of Yidden sitting around the Montebello talking about him. It's like a Gewalt. Imagine thousands of years after the Bria, we're still thinking about him, we're still Dovak and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. After everything that we went through, despite everything, you klapped and gesetzt and gehakt, and Klal Yisrael was still sitting and still talking about you. It's a taiva. It's a taiva. It's like you see your children that they're still connected to you despite everything that happened. They still call you once in a while, and they pick up a phone and they say hello, and maybe the issues are not so perfect with them. And then you say hello for 5 minutes, it's a taiva. You understand? If you're a parent, you know what this is, it's a taiva. The taiva is an unlogical, beyond logical. This taiva, this desire, is the beginning in creation and is the tachlis of Shemayim Haaretz. In the process, where the eights and the period are separated from each other because of the chet, because of the chet, because of separation, because of the alma de piruda, because of living in the world of separation. So we're not margish, we don't feel the taiva in the bria yet. Our job is to get to the tachlis, and we finish the tachlis. We put the final nail, the makim patish. When you finish the final nail, then you'll say, oh, and the Eibusha is going to say, this is what exactly I wanted. So oil mataynu be'emes is really something that's lost of it. When the bria reaches its tachlis, that's when the mataynu is revealed. Comes along the Baal Shem HaKadosh, Teres HaChassidus. And Teres HaChassidus is not another Kenech in Teres HaKabbalah. You have to understand this very deeply. It's not like a Rashash, and there's Ramchal, and there's a girl in Teres HaChassidus. It's not the same thing. Because those are the Gewaldige Tzadikim, Gewaldige Oires, I'm not saying. But what they wanted to do was to reveal the Teres Ari in slapshus, into a more practical way. The Ramchal, through understanding that everything is in the Novi, is in the Koyach Navui, and the Gra was everything in Zman, and the Ashash is everything in hyper Makim, in Erchin. But there's a system, what they wanted to reveal. The Baal Shem HaKadosh, Torah Chassidus, was a revelation of the future and the present. It's a different thing. Pshat is that's why I say it's Torah Shel Mashiach. It's connected to Torah Shel Mashiach. The Torah Chassidus was that the Baal Shem, the Shamas of Baal Shem, it's brought down that Baal Shem said this about some of his Talmidim of the Maggid, about Alter Rebbe, that the Neshamas come from Atik, Pinimius Atik, which in Torah Sari means, Shar Gegulim means these are Neshamas that come higher of the Chet. There's Neshamas Chadashas. Neshamas Chadashas generally means the Neshama first, most people think it means the Neshama that first came down. But there's a higher Medrega of Neshamas Chadashas, which means the Neshamas that are not connected with the Chet Tzadas. The Neshamas went through the process of Chet Tzadas, which again, place of brokenness and separation and duality. And there's the Neshamas that come into this world that are from Pnimius Atik that never were not damaged by the Chet Tzadas. What does those Neshamas reveal? Those Neshamas reveal in this world the oil of the La'asid in the present. So just like there's a Rishimu of the past in the present, right? You have a Rishimu. You take an imprint of something. You'll say, what's the imprint? Imprint is that something was here and it's not here. So the past is now imprinted on the present. But that's all in the world of time. In the world that's beyond time, there's a Rishimu from the future into the present also. Not just from the past and the future, because that's our brain works in the past and the future. But time is in the place that's beyond time. There's a gilui of the Rishimu of the future and the present. And when there's a gilui of the Rishimu of the future and the present, which means that the tachlis, the period, is revealed in the eights. So then you have the tainugim of taiva in presently in Olam Hazeh. You follow? It's not. You should say that what it's not, because then you understand what it is. It's not that the means is an end. That's kfira. Understand? Because the means and end means that there is no end, and the means itself is the end. Chalila, that's not what we're saying. It's mamish, the opposite of the means and end. It's the end is revealed in the means. We're getting a taste of the future and the present. There's a gilui of the future and the present. You know, some people walk around singing this niggin that every yid's a big tzaddik. You ever heard this niggin? So we're once sitting in Spain, God in Girona, somewhere in Girona, in the holy mountains of Girona. And there was someone that was a little challenged by this niggin. And he said, what do you mean? It's not true. It's pasha not true. Halachically, it's not true. Every yid's a tzaddik. Every yid's a tzaddik. Halvai beinli, exactly. Every yid's a tzaddik. Because the guy's has a Rashi. He's saying the guy's a tzaddik. He's not a tzaddik. It's clearly he's not a tzaddik. If you're mevatel Torah for 1 second, you're znika Russia. We don't have to speak anymore. A tzaddik? Should have used a tzaddik. The Torah says like this. So if you saw last is tshuva, right? It's the Rambam. That bal yidach med nidach. Eventually, every neshama is going to come to madrega tzaddik. Soif, the soif is so last is tshuva, which means eventually we will all become tzaddikim. It's not potential. It's not the potential. It's the gilui of the future in the present, and you are a tzaddik. Because eventually you will be. Because eventually you will be, you are now. You're not living up to it? Okay, so live up to it. And since the Torah Chassidus was the revealing of the past, of the future into the present, this is the undoing of the Chet Tzadas, the undoing of the rebellion of Eitz V'Pir shouldn't be Shavim. This is why we celebrate Chamishas B'Shvat. Because what's Chamishas B'Shvat? Chamishas B'Shvat, and this is why it's the historically, just to understand this, Chamishas B'Shvat, yes, it's a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, that's Rosh Hashanah, but if you lived in times in Rambam and you told them, by the way, it is Rosh Hashanah, so look at you like, wow. What are you talking about? For Mises and for Trumas. If you learn Eretz Yisrael, you have to know about the behemoths. But other than that, I mean, for Mises and Truma, you have to know when the new year is. So that's what Chamisha L'Shabbat, but it's a Yom Tov. The Rambam doesn't write anywhere. Neither does the Rosh, and neither the Malaturim. None of the Rishonim write that Chamisha B'Shvat is a Yom Tov. Where did it start becoming a Yom Tov? The Mekabalim. The Mekabalim lived in Eretz Yisrael in Tzfas, Vari B'Soicham, and the Gedolim Mekabalim. They were sitting in Eretz Yisrael. Pshat is, what do you mean they were sitting in Eretz Yisrael? They were sitting in the future and the present. They were sitting in the oil of the future already in their present. So they brought Chamisha B'Shvat. And who really made a ganze Ma'aseh Chamisha? Chassidim. Because it's Torah Chassidus. And what's Chamisha B'Shvat? Chamisha B'Shvat means that when you say that Chamisha B'Shvat is the new year for the Ilan, which means, but when does the new year really start? When do you daven for Mayim? In Tishrei, Sukkot. I mean, rather you start from the beginning. But Sukkot, you need an Alamayim. So the Mayim of the new year, the reign of the new year, starts already Tishrei. What happens in Chamisha B'Shvat? Chamisha B'Shvat is when you start seeing the effects, the period of the eights that happened months earlier. So when there's these galus of the period in the time of the eights, but it's not yet a period. This is what the whole chiddush is. The fruits are not ready. It's still eights. It's just a sap. The sap is just rising in the thing. So pshat is you're seeing you're seeing two opposite things. You're seeing the beginning of something that's rising as a period, but the period is in the eights. The period in the eights means that there is a yichud between the potential and the actual. There's a yichud between the eights and the period. That's why Elon, according to Dari, is Gematria 91. What's 91? It doesn't say Rosh Hashanah Le'ilon Nois. Can you do it? It says Rosh Hashanah Le'ilon. What should say Elon? It's Dari writes. The Elon is Shem Havai and Shem Adonai. Shem Havai and Shem Adonai is 91. Pshat is the yichud of the potential and the actual. Shem Havai is the potential. Shem Adonus is the actual. The yichud. That's why you do Dafke B'Chamisha Asar when the moon is B'Shlomusay. We're connecting to that order. The opposite. The end is revealed in the present. Not the present, the end. The end.
present wasn't part of the Tava?
Of course the present is part of the time, but you don't see the time in the present. That's the whole problem. It's like when you're going through something, you have a time to create something. While you're creating, you don't see the time. It feels sometimes people give up. People say, I would love to do this project. How many people say this? Every day. And they have a big time to do it. And then they stop in the middle. Why do they stop in the middle? Because while they're doing it, they don't see the time. When if they finish, come to the final line, then they say, wow, thank God I did this. Because then it says Gala Tailu Mafreya. Retroactively, it's Megala. So La'asad Lava is the Gilui of the original Taiva of the beginning of the Bria. Simply, this means that up until Baal Shem, up until the revelation of Torah Chassidus, it was not possible to experience pure Tainugim in Elamazah. It wasn't yet Bizgalas. It wasn't yet available. This oil was not yet available.
I'll be told.
I'll be tired, of course. I'll be tired. There's no other way.
The whole world thought they were feeling this.
I'm not sure what the whole world is. The whole world. The Weltzok. There's a Welt. We don't know. We're not familiar with that world. We're talking about our world. Yeah. The world. I told you there was once there was a Yid that was very wise. He was a huge Talmud Chacham. Anyways, he ended up moving to Warsaw. So he dated in other circles. And then he wrote that when he was a kid, he always used to hear about a Shaila, the Rabbi Akiva Eiger. He used to say, the Welt fragt a Shaila. And then they would ask a question, Rabbi Akiva Eiger. The Welt fragt a Shaila, Rabbi Akiva Eiger. He said he came to Warsaw, the Welt fragt is a Shaila. So he realized that his Welt, this is the Welt. This is my world. My Welt, this is the world. The Welt. So the Nakuda is that we have to start living with the future and the present, which is that you're Taka Tzadik, and you have Isadik Elashem, and you have Dveikus, and you're feeling connected, and you're feeling alive, and you're feeling joy, and you're feeling pleasure. That it shouldn't be, Chalila, it should be that your life should be bifurcated, should be separated. Which just means is, where do I feel Tainugim? When I do me. That's where I feel my Tanugim. And where do I feel Elikus? There's two separate realities. There's where I feel myself, and that's the place where I feel pleasure. And that has nothing to do with God, nothing to do with Torah, nothing to do. That's the andere Welt. But the Nakuda is that a person should live with Lakus, with life and Dveikus in a way that they should have not only enjoyment, they should have Tainuk. You know when you see a person that's Tainuk, their face looks different? The person has Tainuk. It's a different art. And this is Chamisha B'Shvat. This is what we want. We want to achieve that we're walking on this world not only with joy, which is Avada beautiful, and not only with Ava, with Tainugim. You look at a Yid and you say, wow, this person is like, this guy's having the best life possible. He's in a full state of pleasure and bliss his whole life. This is the goal. And it's not far-fetched. This is the whole amazing thing about this whole thing. That the tzaddikim that came down did the hard work to bring down this light. The very, very hard work. I told you this myself for you. That someone once asked the Baal Shem HaKadosh, the Einikel from the Baal Shem, and he left already. Okay. That God, the Alter Rebbe was once with their Baruch Hu. Their Baruch Hu was like an Einikel, a physical Einikel. And they had a sichsuk, it's a ganze Meise with their Nachman. It's a ganze story. I guess the Alter Rebbe wanted to make peace. The Alter Rebbe went to their Baruch Hu. And the Baruch Hu told him two things. You have to listen to me. First of all, because I'm older than you. And second, because I'm an Einikel from the Baal Shem. So the Alter Rebbe said, on both things I disagree with you. Erstens, I'm also an Einikel from the Baal Shem. Means my Rebbe is the Maggid's Rebbe is the Baal Shem. So I'm a spiritual Einikel from the Baal Shem. And this would you tell me that you're older than me? Depends how you measure years. If you're a Hemshech in the previous generations, then I'm thousands of years old. If you're Taka Davar Chodesh, which the Baruch Hu felt he was a Davar Chodesh, so then Taka, you're new. I'm much older than you. So, anyways, that didn't go so well. But the mice was Vuhaltan. This is the story. The story is, so the Baal Shem, the Messias Nefesh, I'll tell you something about the Baal Shem. Someone's asked the Baal Shem, what's the avoid? How do you serve Hashem? What is it to serve Hashem? So Baal Shem told him to close his eyes. He held his hand and he closed his eyes. And he saw the Baal Shem climbing up a mountain, very high mountain, a cliff. It's a strange story. I'm going to tell you right now. It's a strange story. Time to the top of the cliff. And the Baal Shem said, Shema Yisrael, something, the Baal Shem jumped off the cliff. And the Yid was, ah! And the Baal Shem came and landed. But he didn't land. He splintered. He splintered into a million little pieces. And every little piece looked like the Baal Shem. That's the Maisa. He splintered. He was one person. He jumped off the mountain, like little holographic images of each one had a little Baal Shem. He said, that's Avodas Hashem. Shatis, what does that mean? The Baal Shem went on Mesiras Nefesh. And he jumped off a cliff, so every Yid could be the Baal Shem. So all the oil that's revealed through the Baal Shem, through his tremendous avodah and the avodah of tzaddikim, the early generations of Chassidus, was that we, sitting here in Montebello, with fancy gardens and pools and chandeliers, we can have a shtikul shaychas telukos also. Imagine. And this is the highest level of Tainugim. The Eibush says, there? Taka? Mamish over there? This I can't believe. I can believe in Poland and in Russia where they had nothing. You say a guy was an Oiv Hashem in the 1700s. What should he have done? What should he have done? If you were in the 1700s, in a little shtetl in Chaslavich, yeah? What can you do? What are you going to do? You have a good head. What are you going to do? You got Koppenvant. What are you going to do? Obviously, you become the biggest gadol Yisrael. You're going to sit and learn. You have a good head. You can become a genius. You're going to write Svarim. There's no other option. What are you going to do? You're going to skip. There's nothing to do. You can only learn. What are you going to do? You're going to learn. You're going to be a tzaddik. Okay, so you can do it. That's I'm not saying a big tzaddik. I'm not saying. But in this generation, there's a lot of options. And still a person connects and sits and learns a little bit and davens and does a mitzvah and thinks about Hashem. You know what kind of tainim this is? This is tremendous tainim. This is the biggest tainim. Midas emes Rav and Afla upon it. This is a Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu saw the door of Mashiach, the door of Safani Gula. He's Midas emes Rav and Afla upon it. He couldn't believe that it could be such Eden. So don't say Amol. Don't say there were once big people. There were once big people, but Amol is Amalek. You say Amol is Amalek. Yachab? Amol in Yiddish means it was. L'chaim, l'chaim. Huh? About the soup? You don't have yet? Nog een beetje like kטעם. I'm excited. You want to hear it? The Eibusha gave such a beautiful world. The Eibusha wants you to appreciate all the beauty that the Eibusha gave. You should make a bracha, and you should appreciate the godless that the Eibusha gave you, all the delicious, beautiful things, all the pears, and all the tanugim in this world, that a yid, le'nivra azov, elu shel beis hamikdash. Pshat is that there was a nivra. Now, of course, this comes, we have to be very clear, this comes after a lot of avodah v'skafia, and this hapchem, breaking and baking and fasting, but that's already, we had ancestors that did this whole thing. Them z'chzumuchet and tzahaget, I got it. And we're very, very grateful, because otherwise we wouldn't even have a leg to stand on. But they did it. Every one of your Zaydas, every single Yid today, from the biggest tzaddik to the biggest potential tzaddik, every single Yid had a Zayda and a Baba that went on Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit. You should know this. There's not one Jew alive today that didn't have a Baba and a Zayda in some generation that stood up to a Cossack or to a Nazi Machshamam or Sadar Machshamam and said, I'm going to keep my Yiddishkeit. Because Yidden otherwise will be, there was, the times of Bayesheni, there was as many Jews in the world as there were Chinese. You know that? Which means statistically there should be over 1 billion Yidden. So what happened? What happened? 1 billion Yidden. But you know what happened? The Yidden that survived, the Sheyas HaPleitim that survived, every single Yid is standing on the shoulder of a Yid that went on Mamish, Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit. It's a gewaldig to think about this.
Why is the bigger tzaddik the one that didn't eat the soup?
I don't know about the other one. I'm talking about the person that ate the soup. They didn't eat the soup.
They both ate it?
They both didn't. They both did. You'll figure it out. L'chaim, l'chaim, Eden, l'chaim.
Are we able to be Mesach and the Chit Adam Arishon in this
Sure,
world?
that's what we have to do now.
So not that last in love.
No, now. Avadu.
So what's the pshat of a new neshamas?
They brought this gilui. The neshamas, those neshamas gave the generation the ability to do that. Otherwise, we're ein chavash matat beis asurim. We can't release ourselves from prison. So the Eibusha gave the shamas that come from Ak, that come from Koydem Achet, the shamas chadashas gave Koyach Klal Yisrael to do this. Oh.